my name is Linda Scruggs. I am the co-executive director of Ribbon. I remember when the first CDC report came out, and it really started talking about, and it created separation for my community, for my generation. As a young person who was sexual, beginning a sexual space, it wasn't a message for me. It was particularly very clear that this was a gay man's disease, and the pictures that we saw were white gay men. So it was easy to disconnect from. Things started shifting. I remember CDC and the government talking about IV drug users. I remember them talking about very promiscuous people, and that we knew that, we didn't know what it was quite yet, but we did know that this was a sexually engaging disease. But I never saw in this time frame anyone talk about in the media space what was happening with women, what was happening with their babies. We kept seeing white gay men. I can't tell you how I felt at that moment, because I remember like the first 5 minutes of them sharing my diagnosis was like, do this. In 3 to 5 years, you can live 3 or 5 years. If you terminate the baby, we can give you 5. But if you keep the baby, probably within 3 years, both of you are dead. And I remember like all this is happening, and I remember I can't breathe. And I remember asking them, can I just have a moment? And the young lady, I love to say her name is Jackie Hamilton. She peeked her head back in the room and she said, where is your faith? And with that, when they went that way, I went out the room the other way and exited the building. Because I had to respond, and I didn't have a response to them. That literally they was telling me that day, the day before Thanksgiving, they can terminate my baby. And that I didn't. It was like 3 to 5. It's like, how do you make that decision in a moment? So, I made a conscious decision not to terminate my pregnancy. And not only he's HIV negative, in May he actually will be 30 years old. Like, who would have known? Unimaginable. He's 30 and I'm 56, right? So who would imagine when we think about that 3 to 5 year window I had? I didn't make a decision to become an HIV advocate. I think I was chosen to be an advocate. And I always think about Isaiah's diagnosis of being negative was the thing that allowed me to be an advocate, because it showed me that there were a lot of women around me that couldn't use their voices. And because Isaiah was negative, I had to use my voice. I didn't have the same level of stigma. I didn't have the same concerns or worry of what was going to happen with him. I could control that a little different. HIV gave me voice. It gave me voice to help others. But along the way of helping others, I found this whole new space that I needed. Plus if you're gonna be dead in 3 or 5 years anyway, what do you got to lose? Say it, make sure you say what you needed to say, do what you needed to do. I think the one thing that I want you folks to walk away with knowing is, not only is HIV real, I think you know that, but not only is it preventable, I think you know that, but I really want you to figure out what is your tools of engagement. What do you need, an old term? What's quality of life really like? And whose quality of life are you working on behalf of? Whose quality of life is your focus? It's too narrow for this just to be about me. It's nothing more incredible than for me, an old hen, old queen, or whatever you want to call me, is to see the men and women that I have worked with and trained across this country go into leadership places, find themselves on platforms and stages, find themselves as forces to be reckoned with. I sit sometime on my computer just like an old mother hen. My chest is this high, because there she is, there he is, there they are, and they're saying they got it. I love the fact that Gina Brown learned the lesson. I love the fact that Mildred learned the lesson. I love the fact that Helen got it, that Brian got it, that Al got it. I love the fact that they got it and we see them doing it. And leadership is unselfish, that you share the space and you build other people.